Everyone's favorite emerald-clad B-list superhero is back on TV, and while that spells great news for fans of the grim and gritty archery TV genre, some of us can't help but wonder what could have happened if DC and Warner Brothers had manned up and given us an actual big-budget film with the superhero version of Robin Hood, especially a film with as badass a name as Green Arrow, Escape from Supermax. Hey guys, welcome to Rejected Movie Ideas, where we're willing to mine the depths of canceled Hollywood scripts if that means getting to fantasize about a DC comic book movie that's actually, good. Such is the case of what would have been the first big screen outing for geekdom's favorite arching-obsessed vigilante. You see, kids, years before Arrow was brooding in green pleather on TV, there were legit plans in Warner Brothers to follow up the success of Christopher Nolan's gritty Batman reboot with a gritty Green Arrow film. And since Warner Brothers couldn't get Nolan to make all their money at the same time, they figured they would go with the next best director, which apparently meant writer-director David Goyer, who, in his defense, had written the successful Batman Begins, but also in his criticism had directed Blade Trinity. Goyer's Green Arrow origin tale was supposed to kickstart a new franchise for Warner Brothers. The problem for Warner Brothers was Goyer had little interest in telling an actual origin story for Green Arrow. That's right, in a refreshing change of pace for Hollywood, writer Justin Marks strayed away from the typical tragic past leads to training montage leads to fighting supervillain approach of every single superhero origin story ever. Instead, he started this particular Green Arrow story by taking away our hero's silly green spandex and trademark weapon and locking his ass away in federal penitentiary. What followed would have been 2 hours of Oliver Queen fighting against a swarm of DC Comics C-listers as he Shawshanked his way out of prison, hence the name Green Arrow, Escape from Supermax. Now, even though the title made it sound like Green Arrow was trapped in a movie theater, Escape from Supermax would have opened the door for more complex relationships than the typical good guy punches bad guy in the face that usually marks superhero fare. It's like Alcatraz, and he has to team up with some of the very same villains he's responsible for incarcerating in order to get out and clear his name. Of course, tons of people try to kill him while he's in there. Now, granted, these weren't well-known villains by any means. I'm not going to stand here and pretend I've ever heard of Tattooed Man, Icicle, The Calculator, or Blockbuster. What'd he do, hit our villains with outrageous late fees? But still, forcing the good guy in a superhero movie to work with the bad guys for a common goal sounds much more interesting than just having him punch villains in the face until the credits roll. By the time a movie like this comes out, we will all understand origin stories, and mainstream audiences now are willing to suspend their disbelief to the point that we can believe that a world exists where superpowers exist and people dress up in costumes. So now what? Now what do we do? And I call this Superhero 2.0. Now, as much as I just fell in love with that writer, Warner Brothers execs were unfortunately a lot less seduced. They were hesitant to stray from their beloved no-risk approach to filmmaking, and what was probably a case of this is the Green Arrow movie we deserve but not the one that we need right now, Warner Brothers halted production of the project in favor of putting all their attention towards another green-clad superhero. And, well, we all know how that worked out. In the years since, Warner Brothers has done an excellent job attracting studio execs with questionable decision-making skills, while Disney and Marvel beat DC at their own game, making money hand over fist with superhero films that nobody ever thought we wanted to see. And much like an aging prom queen desperately clinging on to her former glory, Warner Brothers is boldly trying to make up for missed opportunities by, well, copying absolutely every single thing Marvel is doing, albeit with a much darker color palette. But in a world where a film starring a talking raccoon and his sentient tree sidekick can outgross the Man of Steel at the box office, we're all left wondering what would have happened if Warner Brothers had rolled the dice 8 years ago and gone with a more non-traditional Green Arrow story. It was completely ahead of its time. I think this was 8 or 9 years ago that we wrote a couple of drafts, but it certainly was like this oddball project at Warner Brothers at the time. They were like, even though the script was good, why would we make a movie about a bunch of villains? That makes no sense. And in the most expensive case of better late than never, Suicide Squad, a film starring a bunch of villains that Warner Brothers refused to acknowledge for decades, opens in theaters everywhere this summer. So apparently when they decide not to make this movie, they also decide to ban Green Arrow from ever being in a movie, because I guess he's not going to be in Justice League. How do you guys feel about that? Should he be in Justice League, or is he fine just being on the small screen? Let us know in the comments below, and also subscribe to this channel for more rejected movie ideas. And if you like my face, you can follow me on Twitter at James A. Janice or subscribe to my YouTube channel, Practical Folks. Thanks a lot, guys. Be good people.